All right, we're going to get to Senator Tim Scott now. He's been standing by for us as we've been taking in this news. Senator, a lot to talk to you about. But first, your reaction to what we're learning here now with this young man who has now been arrested for sharing our nation's top secrets online in a format that any of our adversaries could have easily gotten this information and could have.
Well, certainly, I'm so happy to hear that they figured out who it was very quickly and have arrested the person. But the truth of the matter is that I keep seeing failures from our national leadership. I say failure starts at the top without any question. I look forward to hearing more about the details. Certainly, it feels like he's putting other Americans' lives in jeopardy. We're going to figure out whether it was just signal information or was it actual humans being put in jeopardy or in periled situations because of his leaking of information. It's treacherous and traitorous. So I look forward to seeing what the process is. We want to watch it play out for a little while, but there's no question about it that finding the right protocols, putting them in place to make sure that this never happens again is incredibly important.
Pat Ryder, just a moment ago at the Pentagon, detailing this very criminal act. Senator, listen.
It is important to understand that we do have stringent guidelines in place for safeguarding classified and sensitive information. This was a deliberate criminal act, a violation of those guidelines. And so, again, I think that's important to understand. Now, we will continue to do everything we can to ensure that people who have a need to know when it comes to this kind of information have access to that. We're always going to learn from every situation.
Are you surprised by the messaging so far we've heard from the Pentagon, Senator, that heads aren't going to roll? Like, where's the messaging to our adversaries that this can never happen again?
Well, Sandra, you said it very well. Mark Esper did a good job with it as well. The truth is that we continue to see weak leadership on the global stage from President Biden's White House. This administration continues to allow leaks to happen. We've seen balloons breach our sovereign borders. We continue to see our aggressors and our adversaries stand up strong against us, and our allies question whether we have the resolve to lead. We have some real issues here, but one of the things I believe is most concerning are the internal controls that are in place, but who's supervising those internal controls? We saw that in the financial industry where the regulators dropped the ball on Silicon Valley Bank and there was no heads that rolled there. We're seeing it once again in a different area, the DOD, where we're seeing another sort of breach that leads to a lot of questions and a lot of calm people suggesting that no big deal. I think it's all very concerning, and I believe it starts at the top.
And Senator, I'm being told by our control room we are potentially waiting on some video of that suspect being taken into custody by the FBI just a short time ago. You're considering a run for president. What would a Scott administration look like when it comes to buttoning the hatches on this classified information? Because we just heard the Pentagon say, well, we've got NDAs, we've got processes, we've got protocols. Those protocols clearly didn't work, and there are potentially other guys out there who could have access to this information. If you're president, what are you doing to fix this?
Well, the first thing you do is to make sure that people who do not need the information don't have the information. Part of the problem that we're seeing there is that they need to close the loop. Why does a 21-year-old person have access to the most sensitive information from a national security perspective? What was he working on? Why was he working on? And what were the protocols put in place to make sure that he only had what he needed? And how do you just hit print and get it all and put it online? Yeah. There are some real important questions on internal controls. The first one is to make sure those who don't need the information don't have the information. That is a question that we need to have answered. The second thing you have to do is take responsibility and start executing justice in our Department of Defense. That means to me, someone has to be responsible, held accountable, not just the individual, but the supervisors around that individual. So there's got to be a different framework in place if we're going to keep America's most important and sensitive information safe, secure, and out of the hands of people who don't need it.
People are going to want to hear that at this moment where we are about to see this young man who was just arrested and taken into custody, who chose to openly share our nation's secrets after being given access to them.
Unbelievable.
Senator, it is unbelievable. So as we listen to that, and as we listen to you, sir, by the way, can we get the big question out of the way? You've launched the exploratory committee. Are you running?
I have been excited about my Faith in America tour. It's gone really well. That led me to the next step of the exploratory committee. I will say I have been blessed to live the American dream, and my greatest hope is that my dream pales in comparison to the next generation's American dreams and the stories that come from another American century. That means we have a lot of work to do, and that's why I believe we must have new leadership at the top. The Biden blueprint to ruin America includes security gaps like we're talking about now, but it also includes security misses like the southern border. Too many Americans, nearly 70,000 plus, have lost their lives because of fentanyl. 4.5 million illegal crossings because we refuse to close our southern border. This is an issue top of the mind of voters all across the country that I continue to hear.
Senator, I'm sorry to cut you off there. As Bill just mentioned, we are waiting on this video. We now have it. This is the scene where the suspect was just arrested in this Pentagon leak. This is Massachusetts, where, as you can imagine, this was a big scene showing up at this person's door where clearly we know they were able to find him and arrest him and take him into custody. Bill, we're watching this together for the first time. Yeah, you can see it looks like they've got local police blocking off the roads there while federal law enforcement moves in to make that arrest. Again, we're told it is a 21-year-old Air National Guardsman, the source of this leak. And you can see it looked like they had one of those armored vehicles going in with that caravan of black vehicles, likely federal law enforcement going in there to make this arrest. Senator Scott, if you're still with us, as you take a look at this video right here, breaking news, what's your reaction to seeing this? I mean, this 21-year-old kid, these leaks started months ago, and he has just brought a world of hurt down, not just on himself, but on our country.
And think about the severity of the issue we're talking about here. We're talking about imperiling likely American lives. We're talking about weakening our relationship with our allies, emboldening the strength of our adversaries, and revealing plans about attacks and coordination for Ukraine and other allies. This is a massive, catastrophic occurrence that should never have happened. And we still have to get to the basic question of what were the internal controls, not just what they were, but who was responsible for those internal controls, and why is there a Massachusetts National Guardsman, not a full-time person in one of our intelligence communities, with access to such sensitive information, and clearly there was no apparatus around that person that would signal the release of that information or the taking of that information. We have a lot of work to do to figure out where the bottom of this mess is. It's going to be a very painful, miserable journey, I have a feeling. Before we let you go, Senator, to go back to your exploratory committee and this potential run for 2024, what does your decision specifically hinge on? What are you waiting for? Yeah, so I have had, as I said, a lot of success on my Faith in America tour, which allowed me to go to the next step of the exploratory committee. I want to make sure that the message I have, which is an optimistic, positive message, anchored in conservatism, actually resonates across the country. I want to make sure that the priorities of the American people reflect mine. What have you seen so far? So far, so good. People are excited. I'm in New Hampshire right now. We've had a great day, meeting a lot of folks that even flew in warm weather from South Carolina for me here in New Hampshire. So it's been a great day. I'll continue to do the same thing. Home in South Carolina tomorrow. I look forward to being there. All right, Senator, we really appreciate you joining us. Check back with us soon. Let us know when you have news on that front. All right.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.